My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, this is the entity that is stalking by helicopter. Again, the entity is openly conspiring the murder of an American citizen, one that is keeping it under surveillance. Remember, Jay Sandoval 19955 is going to federal prison. She committed a threat while engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, a threat to commit kidnapping at that, with the unlawful intent to obstruct justice and keeping my surveillance, my evidence under surveillance of her targeting me. And she did it foolishly on video, just like this agency is continuously engaging in criminal activity on video.
which is not anywhere on Hope Boulevard. It has not been, as you've seen me documenting. You'll see it uploaded onto the Google Drive. It's 9:57 a.m. That agency's stalking at 1511 East Hope Boulevard yesterday, as I was in reference to them being the terrorist organization that is going to be disbanded, and everyone associated with the Ontario Police will be out of a job. And as I utter that, and you can roll the tape back yourself, the entity is stalking by helicopter, which I proved in images. And that was at 9:16 a.m., where this entity is at 9:21 a.m. under the fake sun that's over Ontario Town Square, distinct from 1511 East Hope Boulevard, is engaged in criminal summoning as I'm in operation on my device, uploading the podcast updated from December 5th, 2025, where the entity is stalking. That is the conspiracy to commit murder by Michael GERKEN, the Ontario Fire Department, the American Medical Response, the demons who are the Ontario Police, who just flew over the top of my head at this venue where I'm arriving yesterday after, and I'm arriving after getting off of Omnitrans. Remember, the Omnitrans bus, the male that is getting off the bus, and the entity has the fake sun over me at Metro 102, and the Southwest Airlines stalking over me while I'm at that apartment complex getting off of Route 61. All of that happens. Not today, though. The entity keeps it over Ontario Town Square over me to be right here at the OVITT Family Community Library, where you see it after 2 p.m., after 3 p.m., after 4 p.m. This is the entity that's engaged in the openly published delusional and failed witchcraft practices, which is to be prosecuted as the criminal conspiracy to murder me, and using witchcraft as a malicious means of that. And the entity has failed in accomplishing that secret murder that they intended, but they have engaged in a plethora of criminal acts, including stalking me using helicopters and planes, which is domestic terrorism in the U.S. committed in concert with the gang stalking population, who share in that environment, who share in communicating a threat to commit kidnapping, and who engage in that with the intent to obstruct justice. This is P.O.C. Remember where Southwest Airlines is stalking yesterday, because they're doing it under the fake sun that was at the United States Postal Service. That's the airport conspiring murder as well. This is the entity that's gang stalking, and doing so, the entity is losing the airport, the police department, the fire department. American Medical Response is not engaged in ambulatory services, and they will not be engaged in ongoing gang stalking anymore either. It is currently 9:59 a.m. This is P.O.C. It's 12:42 p.m. Alrighty, you will see uploaded to the Google Drive those engaging in surveillance, co-conspirators of murder, severely mentally ill, and serially stalking with the OVITT Family Community Library. The African-American male, computer number 4, the dark-skinned Latina female, computer, or assuming she's Latina, she is melanated, perhaps Asian even, or perhaps Latina, elderly woman, and computer number 3. The entities engaged in what is demonic activity, everything that they're doing, the most minute movement, and they do it pursuant to the same formula. As I move, as I open up evidence that the demons are monitoring, keeping under surveillance, flashing of light, while a psychopath keeps their head down. That's the severely overweight Latino male sitting to my right, and you will see him keeping his head down. This is a psychopath who is stalking with the method of flashing light, particularly as you will notice that today, December 6, 2025, I am continuously publishing evidence on March 22nd, 2022, showing the exact same pattern of conduct underway in Los Angeles County, specifically in the city of Pomona, where the Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, under domestic terrorist Robert Luna, who is still in that position that he is unfit as a terrorist leader. He's being exposed, and I am systematically prosecuting him on the internet as the city of Ontario is maintaining that criminal pattern of conduct with the demon-possessed people of the state, enemies of the United States, domestic terrorists who maintain surveillance in places like libraries where none of them can read. Okay, this is why they're engaging in psychopathic conduct, using their day to engage in stalking with light, stalking with sensational activity, in furtherance of murdering someone. This is the entity that's engaging in this ongoing harassment on behalf of terrorist leader Mike LORENZ, who was stalking by helicopter, that agency stalking, flying over the top of my head, 9:55 a.m. And what else is happening at that time? Just like I referred to in that video, this is the same time at 537 North Euclid Avenue, where the domestic terrorist Jay Sandoval, number 19955, is communicating a verbal threat to commit kidnapping pursuant to the ongoing pattern of conduct that is underway, including while she utters that threat on behalf of the same demons who are gang stalking inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. While they're engaged in federal stalking under Title 18, keeping my evidence that I'm publishing online, because there is no coincidence with the ongoing pattern of conduct underway, as I am publishing the evidence that also has to do with the criminal conduct that they're engaged in. There's no coincidences under a fake sun either.
This is the entity that's engaging in that. This is what is tying all of that together. That is, the demons in San Bernardino County are engaging in what is harassment and terrorism, sexual violence, such as vagina monitoring, while I'm publishing the evidence about the gang stalkers in Los Angeles County who are sharing that same criminal pattern of conduct. It's currently 12:45 p.m. This is P.O.C. on what is December 6, 2025. License 8 Thomas Henry Frank 470. Seven 620 Bob 1. 15013 George 1. Omnitrans Bus 1332. License 8 Robert George Victor 528. 7 Mary Paul Frank 790. 9 George Robert George 400. 8 Henry Larry Nancy 807. 9 George Nancy Wendy 197. 17763 Yolanda 3. 7 Sam Queen Frank 912. 8 Kelly Xavier Sam 286. 9 Larry Kelly Larry 812. 45392 Jerry 1, I believe. Let's see. 8 Jerry Mary 391. 6 Nancy Yolanda David 346. 7 Larry Mary Xavier 161. 8 Sam Queen Yolanda 874. 9 Nancy Yolanda Edward 125. 7 Henry Wendy Xavier 195. 67005 Henry 4. 7 Mary Victor Charlie 625. 8 David Edward 536. 9 Henry Zebra Henry 794. 7 Zebra Frank 421. 7 Henry Zebra Paul 612, I believe. 7 Larry 37109. License 8 Victor Xavier Frank 855. 7 Frank Bob Henry 528. 9 David Frank Kelly 437. 67611 Uncle 3. 9 Frank Mary David 502. 6 Robert Frank Yolanda 364. 3 Wendy Thomas David 259, I believe. That's an older silver Toyota Camry. It is at third-party facilitating venue Wells Fargo, where the entity is engaged in gang stalking me by helicopter this morning at 9:56 a.m. at 224 North Euclid Avenue, Ontario Town Square, which is documentation relevant to proving that the entity, including Wells Fargo, the business, and every employee and every gang stalking patron, are indeed engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring and furtherance of murder based on the supernatural presence of the sun being over my head, which is necessarily a fake sun, appropriately labeled for identification purposes of state surveillance and furtherance of murder, where that light source is also at the same time at Ontario Airport Inn at 1801 East G Street at 9:56 a.m. on video. In order to avoid any controversy, there is no confusion, and it is a scientific impossibility that both occurrences are simultaneously occurring at all, and also over me. This is why you document Satan, okay? The people of the state are demons who conspire murder and engage in what is a system, an unabated program of psychological torture and harassment, which is terrorism, while a population practices that in furtherance of murdering you and ceaselessly engaged in what is, as I've referred to, frankly, regarding what they are actually doing, vagina monitoring. It's bathroom monitoring. It's criminal surveillance in a private space, not just by that sex offender that enters, but the entirety of that entity. Everywhere that you're going, every business, every residence, which is a facilitating venue, all of the government is engaged in what is monitoring your genitalia, and they like to do that with minor children. Okay, this is relevant to that a license plate at Wells Fargo under the fake sun where the entity is stalking by helicopter. Frank Jerry 43 Nancy 60, that's a paper plate. 6 Yolanda Wendy David 925. And remember, my documentation is relevant to what is going on in real time. There is a body of evidence and documentation of the fake son speaking to what is compared. The mentally ill entity is maintaining an illusion that is a scientific impossibility, and with it I will serve to prosecute them for criminal activity, and serve. It is also directly relevant to the diagnosis which is necessary for any gang stalker, the mental illness exhibited by a population that would engage in this and engage in it in the manner in which the entity has been proven. The pattern of conduct extends to 2018, so that is the fake sun at the same time of year, the fake sun at any time of year, because you're only talking about daylight savings time, giving and taking away 1 hour, where you will never reconcile what is the maintenance of this fake sun as I've been documenting it since 2018. Don't get lost in that while I maintain relevant evidence regarding the immediacy, the ongoing ceaseless pattern of conduct from day to day. Okay, this is how you are aware of the fact that LAPD committed premeditated murder and not an accident, and it is under no circumstances ignorant, but is in fact monitoring pursuant to knowledge, detailed knowledge that is criminally procured because of the system of surveillance that is hereby proven while it is underway in Ontario, California under a fake sun. Moreover, I've been subject to the pattern of conduct that the city of Los Angeles, when you are removing the superficial veil and distinction between city to city and county to county, the entity is still stalking. I was in Los Angeles subject to it, and I'm in Ontario subject to the same pattern of conduct by that same entity. But I'm speaking based on the pattern of conduct that LA is maintaining while they would like to mutually appear as accidentally hitting someone in the middle of the street on a skateboard, and they were ignorant of that person beforehand. And that is simply not the case. License 6 Paul Zebra Robert 445. 6 Zebra, Indiana Zebra 754. This is a symbol, the heart symbol, and then 40 Charlie Edward Charlie Edward Apple Nancy. So again, this is license heart, the symbol, then 40 Charlie Edward Apple Nancy. 4 Ocean. Heart for Ocean, I surmise. Anyway, license 6 Edward Wendy Charlie 171. License 6 Robert Henry George 311. License 9 Edward George Yolanda 961. License 1545862. Vehicle 2348 Omnitrans. P.O.C. Okay, as an aside, actually it's not an aside, rather an additional note, because the entity that's engaged in gang stalking is one that is typically maintaining absolute control over the circumstances of the life of another person. And the demon-possessed have such a God complex, they believe that they maintain control over that person whom they are violating, whom they're stalking, whom they're conspiring against. And the entity is engaging in criminal surveillance, and that includes criminal surveillance of the documentation, literally in real time, at the OVITT Family Community Library, while I'm outside, while I'm aboard Omnitrans. Remember, I'm documenting the criminal conduct that they're committing at the same time. Do not feel bad for the felons that are going to prison, that are losing children, custody of them, that are going to be deported, that are going to lose their reputation, their way to support themselves, their career path, that are going to lose all manner of the very life that they have known. The entity is not only engaged in this criminal system, they are still engaging in it while I'm conducting this simultaneous investigation. That is how I have the entity engaging in what is documented terrorism. Not too different from what's going on in Afghanistan. Okay? Psychological torture is violence. You're just not shooting a bullet through my head, but you might as well. Okay? And that which is not physical is not to be miscounted as less violent and less harmful. Okay? And it's something that is so harmful that it is actually inadequate, and I find it inappropriate to compare. Both are violence. Both of them. Okay? The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct while maintaining full knowledge of everything that's being documented about itself, while it is still obsessively engaging in that criminal conduct. And this is also justice. It's unlawful. I'm going to prosecute. American citizens shall recover based on that, because it's an unlawful threat to your life. As though a stalker is going to stalk you, and they are effectively stating expressly and or impliedly that I'm going to continue to stalk you, and I'm going to stalk you. There's nothing you're going to do about me stalking you, and I'm going to stalk you until I achieve whatever it is that I, as a stalker, am seeking to accomplish. That's an unlawful threat. Moreover, it's the government making that threat. This is how I have the entity engaging in this criminal pattern of conduct over the years. This is how an American citizen like myself, who has documented it, has been subject to such a long existing criminal pattern of conduct. The entity is justly watching itself suffer the consequences and at the same time violating the law. So it's not a basis to feel sorry for them, but it is the entity that likes to stalk and obsess and watch so much, and now it's going to watch its own public downfall and implosion. And this is relevant to the mental illness, that obsession of stalking, which is a spirit. They're monitoring spirits, and now they are monitoring to their own demise. And that is noted while the entity has continuously threatened the life of an American citizen and kept them under surveillance, including that evidence against them. That is obstruction of justice of an unprecedented, of epic proportions, okay? And that's what you're mindful of. Do not feel sorry for them is the point of this. This is evil. And in real life, the devil does not win. It is 2:43 p.m. This is P.O.C.
Going opposite directions, and they're both walking in engineer light. We're all driving in engineer light. And Southwest Airlines is stalking in the sky space in engineer light. This is psychopathic pacing by a population of vagina monitors. All of them keeping my vagina under surveillance. 8WLW511 included. That's a male. 9SYL175. That's a family or a group of vagina monitors engaging in that pattern of conduct. The entity sounded sirens to the psychopathic pacing. They share in mental illness. They share in criminal activity. They share in demon possession under a fake sun. It's in the same position this morning where the Ontario police are stalking by a helicopter, where they're not ignorantly engaging in that conduct in this environment. 9GJC396, vagina monitor, sex offender, a danger to children. They give birth to children, gang stalking with them, including them in vagina monitoring. 8MCT204, a threat to children, whether that sex offender has them or not, is a threat to them, and they're in custody of them. That child is engaged in what is gang stalking, vagina monitoring in particular. All right, and this is the entity that is engaged in what is monitoring and constant with them. This is impossible light activity that you see just over here, just on the wall, for the gang stalking purposes of the Ontario International Airport, the vagina monitor, the gang stalking company conspiring by murder, Southwest Airlines, the City of Ontario sounding sirens, while I am capturing very damning screenshots. Last night, the pattern of conduct is recognized in the following manner. As I walk out, the entity is crossing path, while adults are walking in what is the headlights of a demon. It's actually engineer light. Upon my exit of the Gilbert Family Community Library, the maintenance of a fake sun, 3:59 p.m. is the same pattern of conduct, engineer light, and they're all pacing in it. Under the guise of leaving the library that is closed, 9DOE472. These are all sex offenders. You're doing the same thing with Amazon Prime, USPS, City of Ontario. The entity that's engaging with criminal monitoring, just like the Southwest Airlines gang stalking company did. They're all co-conspirators of murder, 6WRG713, and they all communicated a threat to commit kidnapping through Jay Sandoval. She's going to prison. The people of the state are subject to federal prison for terrorism in the United States. 7LVA580, and that's what gang stalking is in furtherance of murder. 7XRT098, and they are exhibiting impunity. This is not about a light parade. They're engaging in what is a light parade every single day, 24 hours a day. This is criminal conduct in furtherance of vagina monitoring, exhibiting severe mental illness by the demon possessed, who are pacing under a fake sun. This is the commercial for mental illness. P.O.C. 9RDU215, 9RMH897, and the entity is conveniently, sounding sirens, and stops those sirens as I begin recording this video. But you know what the City of Ontario is. They're mentally ill feces consumers, just like the people. 9MHB895, at nightfall, they're slinging engineer light on me while they're stalking in the patches like they are now. The fake sun is accomplishing that same molestation in a demented manner, and further into murdering the person that they are stalking as a population, engaging in what is a light parade amongst the demon-possessed that are engaging in a light parade all day, every day. And that's exactly what the Ontario Police and the Ontario Fire and the AMR ambulances are engaging in, a light parade when those demons sound sirens and use their lights. Criminal facilitation with their co-conspirator of murder, the people. Subject to deportation, loss of minor children, and they're going to be prosecuted as the sex offenders that they are. License plate 7PQX521. License plate 9MNK155. That's a white male. This is P.O.C. They're all standing in the evidence. This isn't sunlight. Jay Sandoval is under the fake sun right here at 8:38 in the morning. That's not sunlight. I'm walking to this venue this morning. I'm capturing the fake sun over this venue during the 8 a.m. hour, over this apartment building where it's still over. Ontario police are stalking and the fake sun is over me at this clock. This is an illusion. And 9TXG731 is mentally ill, living. They're all living in a whole fake reality. This is the demon gang stalking at residence 602A North Euclid Avenue. African-American male partaking in a vagina monitoring, a hostile demon that knows that they've been documented, and that's relevant to their prosecution. This is the entity that is engaging in what is shared sexual violence, shared mental illness, shared criminal conduct, the shared criminal conspiracy to commit murder. Jason Fields is going to federal prison, and so is Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, the demons of the OVITT Family Community Library that share in kidnapping, defaming the character of the one that they are monitoring. A light parade just like Route 66, just like the food festival, is your knowledge about what public corruption amongst the demon-possessed that are engaged in state surveillance, what it looks like. This is P.O.C. The same criminal conduct like they're engaging in every single day. While Satan celebrates the demonic holiday in the U.S., Christmas, by gang stalking. P.O.C.
Nine VZJ 529. So the satanic light show that the City of Ontario is hosting is a means of psychopathic pacing and demons pacing with light activity. 8TEK708. 7HSY957. 8PIV289, where the airport is stalking at the light show, just like I captured on video, under the fake sun that's in the same position it was at 9:56 in the morning, where Ontario police were stalking. 9NEH455. The fake sun documentation is proof of what is the relevance of engineered light and presence, which is criminal, pursuant to stalking in a criminal monitoring system. And that's what's going on, in the City of Ontario has referred to it as what is the Christmas light parade. These are demons that are stalking with light. Very sick, very demented, malicious, obviously, but very, very deranged. These are the demons that are stalking with the possible light under a fake sun, calling this a light parade. They're pacing, and they're pacing all around me. Under the guise of looking for a parking spot, okay? The City of Ontario maintaining flashing light activity. These demons are flying in circles. The airport is stalking. They're pacing. And the demon possessed of the Ontario Police Department are engaged in criminal summoning under the guise of what is an event. They're all monitoring. This is the mentally ill, 9GQR411. This is a threat to the life of an American citizen that is being monitored. Monitoring is occurring under the guise of a parade in furtherance of murder. Very, very sick. These demons are out, and they are with their children engaging in this sick satanic festival. It's engineered light while they're looking for a parking space. This is the guise of it. This is the pattern of conduct, 8JFV069. And this is where you're looking at mental illness up close and personal, 9NRJ385. You're looking for a parking spot under the fake sun. You are a stalker. And the delusional psychopaths are the only ones that think that no one sees them. License plate 7KJB352. And the City of Ontario, the State of California, is systematically engaged in the contribution to the delinquency of minors whom the government has made terrorists and included them in gang violence, in furtherance of murder and unprecedented methods of sexual violence. And that is in concert with the people of the state, including their parents. License 7TAU084. Even any demon-possessed gang stalker is engaging in criminal conduct with minors. They're all gang stalking together. So you don't have to curse the state of California and this country by giving birth as a demon. You are already engaged in criminal activity in concert with minors. Because the criminal conduct, the criminal system is engaged in with the population who unfortunately give birth to demons who are monitoring and whom the entity makes a part of the criminal pattern of conduct. A newborn baby that's just crying, whether that demon made that baby cry or not, that's a whole other level. You're dealing with psychopaths who are monitoring all manner of abuse, okay?
So you open your imagination with regard to what psychopaths who engage in psychological torture practice and the ways in which they prey upon children, utilizing the same psychological torture tactics, by the way. Okay? But nonetheless, a newborn baby that is crying in Engineer Light is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and that's not that newborn baby's conscious decision. That's the sex offender that gave birth to that child. That's them, including children, in the sex offense of federal group stalking and monitoring. 9 POX 375, making that child a vagina monitor. Making that child a felon engaged in what is monitoring and furtherance of murder. 9 UFV 681, because they're engaging in the elements of monitoring. Monitoring is not just the fact that you want to stalk right now. You are monitoring as an entity that is stalking obsessively 25/8, and you are doing so until that person that is being criminally monitored by the government is dead. That's what you're including children in at whatever point, whatever time, whatever place. And it is absolutely unlawful. It's also very sick. You don't have to be the demon giving birth and cursing this nation with your demon-possessed seeds, because that's what the demon-possessed are. 9DG and 560, they give birth and death comes forth. And then they're gang stalking minors. This is why you have minors that have the capability to choke the life out of people and beat people to death or engage in all manner of harm and criminal conduct. And who taught them how to do that? They're demons. Born and birthed and trained by demons who are gang stalking in the city of Ontario, California. 8XGX 700, 8DIG 330. And these demons are the ones who are triggered, bringing forth these cursed seeds, who are monitoring us in furtherance of murder, targeting us in the United States with the demon-possessed government body. And then they're triggered as they listen to the truth, unadulterated, okay, not mincing any words about the wicked. And why would you? You sit in the dark, lurking like a stalker, and you don't like the fact that I'm speaking the facts about what you do. I don't even have to make up anything, nor would I, but I don't make up anything about what you're actually doing, and you're triggered by your own conduct. Well, you won't even have an opportunity to be triggered when Christ Jesus is judging you. They're hell-bound demons. License 4NGF160, pacing around in the parking lot, helping the city of Ontario monitor me. And this is exactly what they were doing under the fake sun in the video that you listened to. A population of sex offenders, and they center their concentration, their knowledge about regarding my vagina, as they are all psychos just going in circles over and 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 over, just like you saw the Ontario Police Department do for 1+ hours in helicopters. They do that concerning my vagina. That's exactly what the population is doing, what the city of Ontario does with helicopters to me, following me around, stalking every single day. And this is Mike Lorenz being subject to a prosecution for, as a co-conspirator of murder, soliciting violence by a population that is stalking on that agency's behalf and on his behalf. You're going to be prosecuted as the domestic terrorist leader that you are. And terrorists in the United States, they go to prison. License 9DYH157. These are psychopaths, each and every one, and collectively representing what mental illness is and how it is a threat to national security. 8SEK379. These are sickos. 9SYE590, and they are a threat to minor children, including the ones that they bring forth, including them, especially them, but any child. License 9JAJ666, 5KFP929. They are the reason why Mike Lorenz, the Ontario Police and the like are the reason why minor children are out here murdering each other and other people, stealing from them, robbing them, engage in all manner of criminal conduct that our imaginations have not even fathomed, but they have. They're demons. They're demons. 8KOT036, where the government is engaging in criminal conduct with those minor children, you're going to have them engaging in criminal conduct. Just like you hear the Ontario International Airport openly engaging in that with license plate 8UBH895, co-conspirator of murder. License plate 9VAN591, co-conspirator of murder. This is not a Christmas light show. This is criminal activity. It's public corruption, just like I documented Route 66, just like I documented the food festival, where these psychopaths were gang stalking under the 6 p.m. fake sun, and who was stalking in a helicopter. Out of everybody at that food festival at the Ontario Town Square, everybody knows that it was me, where the fake sun remains over me from morning until evening, and they all gathered together under the guise of being focused on the food festival to gang stalk me. This is the entity that's engaging in what is a massive sex offense, and while they worship my vagina, they're losing custody of children. License plate 8JXY964, and the Ontario International Airport is being shut down for conspiring the murder of an American citizen in concert with a whole population, a whole city, the state of California. And they are the entity that crashes planes into buildings and kills people like UPS did in Kentucky. That's the threat that the Ontario International Airport poses, while you have seen the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way, in fact, to a scientific degree, that they are in fact engaged in what is criminal monitoring, and that they're specifically stalking me. I've even proven that. They are a threat to national security, and they are a threat to minor children with whom they commit federal offenses, and they facilitate and encourage and incentivize it. No wonder you have demons that are engaging in criminal conduct, giving birth to demons who commit violent acts under the age of majority. License TJ391 handicap 7VPV745. They're all stalking. Metro 102 stalking with the airport, the entire apartment complex. 280 North Limit Apartments engaged in criminal summoning with AMR and Ontario Fire this morning. Engaged in criminal summoning, monitoring through the guise of the Christmas light show, a light parade. This is what these demons do every day. They're all engaged in criminal activity while you hear the entity stalking. There is no airport takeoffs from 2 and 4, those terminals, that would sound over Metro 102 at 102 North Limit Avenue. Just like you saw Southwest Airlines flying over, that the entity has engaged in what is providing what is a body of evidence, direct and clear evidence of stalking. Because what the airport is legitimately engaging in, and what I'm documenting the airport in, is a clear identification of a pattern of harassment, stalking me, stalking which is even proven through what is the scientific impossibility that the sun would be over me where they're stalking for 11 plus hours, 8 plus hours. And they provide that evidence on a daily basis. And this is what the entity is engaging in when they're going to be facing deportation, federal prison, when they're going to be facing loss of custody of children, because that's exactly where the court's going when you're being prosecuted. Going from prosecuting you and any children that you have access to custody over. And they're providing obvious evidence. There's no controversy. There's not going to be a back and forth, because there's no question here. 8VNE417, 8VNE417, 9CRFs 969. And this is all serving Mike Lorenz's criminal purpose. The same agency stalking for an hour, over an hour, at the bus stop, while they were engaged in the exact same thing, a light parade, molesting my body with impossible light. 86882C3, sex offenders. P.O.C. This is mental illness, and this is what you have, and this is what is created when you have what is demon possession that is long existing, spreading like a fungus, and criminal conduct is directly manifesting from that. This is how you have such massive public corruption. Stalking in absurd, unheard of ways, which is what the sick mind is able to conjure up. Creative ways to engage in criminal activity, creative ways to engage in what is demonic, psychologically harmful to the ordinary target individual, which is directly relevant to the ways in which they harm children, and they're a threat to children. Alrighty, it is currently 6:45 p.m. 8TDM394, 7AGV887. Minor child, license TWNTYFV. License plate 9VBJ567. By the way, it's currently 6:46 p.m. License 7ERK874. License 8KQB472. IM2SASE. This is how desperate they are, by the way, to stalk me. City events. Exposing public corruption and obsession. Mental illness. 57418T3. 8PKL262. The public corruption, the ways in which the entity is stalking, because they're monitoring, shows you evidence of obsession, the links to which they go to gang stalk. DUHLULU. That's exactly what him and his mother are. They're delusional. 8RFF897, 85045G2, 9PRF927. That's exactly what you are when you're stalking on video for over an hour as a city and a demon using a helicopter to do so, spending a lot of money and resources. That's even physically taxing to engage in that psychopathic criminal activity that the Ontario police have been engaged in for years, and they are being disbanded, and the people of the state are going to federal prison for gang stalking with that agency and furtherance of murdering me. With minor children in the back seat, 7AGV887. They're all delusional, and they are severely mentally ill. They are the people of the state. The people of the state is a legal phrase regarding what you all know at one time. Based on the pattern of conduct, the people of the state are demon-possessed. The people of the state are third parties. The people of the state are co-conspirators of murder while they're engaged in criminal surveillance, gang stalking. You know all of that through the term people of the state. License plate and engineered light, 8MQF684. This is all in engineered light. This is all systematic monitoring. License plate. Minor child, license plate. 8NBH423. 9NTV804, in case I didn't read that one, and 9DFV522. This is criminal activity sponsored by the City of Ontario. Paul Leon is being removed. All the ways in which my evidence shows the acts of public corruption and furtherance of murdering me while the City of Ontario holds events. 9UNF871, which are serving my demise. Psychologically harmful and sexually violent in unprecedented manners. And Paul Leon is out of office. He is going to be, and that's not the end of the way in which he's going to be punished with regard to what is criminal activity and furtherance of murdering me as a gang stalking mayor. Providing funds, providing the opportunity, and doing so with impunity, threatening more and more at throughout the years as I've been documenting him, because I'm documenting Paul Leon while the City of Ontario, the fire department, the police department, the airport, the population itself, the city, the municipality, through every event that is held, is serving for monitoring me in furtherance of murdering me and keeping my vagina under surveillance. He's no mayor, and he will be removed from office. 9WDF333, license plate. 9SLC440, license. 9MUT700, license. 9EBT269, license. Omnitrans, systematically monitoring, that goes without stating. Route 61 at 6:49 p.m., headed what is westbound on Hope Boulevard. They're monitoring, they're stalking in the path. License plate. 9GTV470, what's remaining over me while I'm aboard Omnitrans, the scientific impossibility of a fake sun. They're all stalking with light, they're all monitoring. 85045G2. Every single last one. Every single last one. And there are multiple bodies in every vehicle. This is thousands of people that have conspired my murder together. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. The Ontario police are being disbanded. They're no police department. License 7KKD793. And this is criminal activity. It's public corruption. All right? And it's what you need to understand, that this is a poster board. These are poster children, if you will, of mental illness. That's no longer closeted. 64693B2, demon possession, which you need to understand is directly informing the manifest behavior, which is under no circumstances lawful, normal, nor is it healthy. Okay, it's harmful to other people because they like to target other people based on their mental illness. 82895S1, 8MXY133, minor children in the vehicle. License there, every single last one, including the government, is engaged in the contribution to the delinquency of minors that they're including in the conspiracy to murder. The entities are losing custody of children. License 9FMA516. They engage in sex acts with minor children. So I guess when you go around raping people, you bring your children to rape those people, because that's what they're doing while they're gang stalking. They're including children in the perpetual sex offense. 9VLM190, CPT, CEO. License 23103U1. And then they engage in what is criminal activity such as threatening harm to me, threatening to commit kidnapping as an entity, while I document this very criminal system. 9TLW601, 9NWC 301, I believe. License plate. 9UXH196, 9UHY648, 9JDZ299, license plate RTC164, that's Mexico, or New Mexico, I believe. Minor children in the back seat, license plate 9KDS082. And the same criminal pattern of conduct is underway at the Ontario Town Square, hosting this criminal act, which they refer to as what is the parade, the light show. They're engaging in that every day while the entity is stalking me under a fake sun. They're engaging in the same activity. Understand that. They literally applied the label light show. That's the only difference. That's it. License plate 8FPC217, 9JLY525. And it's logically common sense. The ongoing terrorism that's underway at the Ontario Town Square does not change. There's no exception. And it's not proof that there is no such terrorism. The evidence of the terrorism is already published for you to witness. So what are they doing at the Ontario Town Square under the guise of Christmas light show? It is the P.O.C. It's the P.O.C. It's speaking to the pure numerosity. Numerosity is relevant to the unlawful threat posed by government. Speaking to the mandated time in prison. And you're doing substantial time in prison for conspiring with millions of people to murder that person by gang stalking as a fire chief, police chief, 8FPC 717. Engaging in criminal summoning, systematically, repeatedly engaging in what is gang stalking, as though there's no consequences. That's exactly who's going to prison amongst the people of the state, because that's what they do. Report to work every day, gang stalking somebody in furtherance of murder, and you think that your response in courts and you're going to avoid federal prison is that, well, I had to go to work, Your Honor. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. License plate 8DDF536. P.O.C. It is currently, let me get these easy ones. DS829 handicap. 60055 Robert 2, 9PJF788. Alrighty, it is currently 6:54 p.m. This is P.O.C. at 224 North Euclid Avenue, where the same agency, the Ontario Police Department, engaged in stalking me amongst this same population, gathering together, stalking as a population still, amongst what is engineered light that they use with regard to decorative and colorful rainbow colors, calling it a festival of lights regarding Christmas, and it's the same engineered light. These are the creative, mentally ill psychopaths. They're deranged. It's like thinking up creative ways to murder someone. That's what you're dealing with. They're gang stalking. It's P.O.C. and it is currently 6:54 p.m. Molestation. This is a sex offender, 6FTH415. And Laurelwood Apartments is sharing in that sexual violence. These demons are following as I go through the neighborhood to conduct a molestation, touch all over my vaginal area, touch all over my breasts and body, while they have kids conducting that sexual violence. 8 Charlie Zebra 348 P.O.C. And this is again Paul Leon's engagement in what is sexually violating me through the masses, as the city of Ontario yet again hosts another massive criminal event. With regard to federal group stalking and monitoring, 8ERW264. And Paul Leon engages in that, sponsors that with children in the city of Ontario. Engaging in what is conspiring the murder of a person in the city while they're sharing in criminal conduct, and that they are demons who share in mental illness, share in criminal conduct, share in what is obsession with my vagina. This is the reality of the demon possessed in the city of Ontario who keep a fake sun over me, as I've been documenting on one street all day long. And they just engage in what is calling that sex offense a Christmas parade. Were the entity engaged in the same ritual, worshiping me and following me around with engineered light. P.O.C. It is 8:18 p.m. Alrighty, this is license plate 8AUJ236. Alright, license plate. Stalking, sitting in the middle of the street. In other words, aware that I'm documenting. License plate 7 Edward Paul 106. This is a white male. POC. The entity engaged in what is the Christmas light show ends with A dark parking lot full of demons sitting in the dark in their cars while I walk through and I get the license plates of stalkers that know that they're being documented. It is 8:27 p.m. In case you did not know, Christmas is a satanic holiday, a festival, a ritual where the demon possessed are literally monitoring under the guise of some baby Jesus holiday. If you do not know already that it is for the world and it has nothing to do with being a Christian and following Christ Jesus, the P.O.C. and the evidence of the demon possessed calling a Christmas parade anything other than what it is, a means of massive vagina monitoring with their demon possessed children in tow. P.O.C. It is 8:27 p.m.
Alrighty, criminal summoning at 8:37 p.m. The entity is maintaining a so-called Christmas festival, a Christmas parade of lights, and yet the entity is acting pursuant to the same pattern of conduct. And you have the entity that is full of psychopaths who are a threat to children, and they are a threat to each other. While I am exposing this system that the demon-possessed psychopath and corrupt entity is and what it engages in, while they engage in it in a manner that is unspoken, unaddressed, and yet you see that system ceaselessly underway, that is the threat that needs to be recognized. That is the threat, the very real threat, as it is fully underway, very real, and the entity that is demon-possessed is engaging in it without any sort of indication to you. Okay, so when you're looking at them smiling and cheesing and taking pictures and acting as though nothing nefarious is going on, you're listening to the entity that's engaging in that conduct while the fake sun is there, while the impossible light is there, where they're cheesing and having the best time of their lives, oblivious to the targeted individual or the one that would otherwise allege that they're being targeted, harassed, terrorized, violated in one way or another, while that population maintains that outward demeanor, that behavior, this sort of conduct, such as a festival of lights for Christmas, moreover, including their children and strollers and their newborns and their teenagers from the local high school marching down the street with the municipality decorating their Christmas lights from Walmart all over the trucks while they're going up and down the street, playing Christmas music with Santa Claus on top. And the entity is engaged in that same pattern of conduct with regard to criminal summoning, sounding the sirens in the midst of the parade, apparently, but sounding the sirens nonetheless. As I turn on my device, turn on the Wi-Fi radio, same conduct, inexplicable light, not coexisting with a car driving by, but just appearing out of nowhere. I've documented that before. You already know that. That's what's happening while the demon-possessed maintain that outward demeanor, that outward ongoing code of conduct, which is highly unpersuasive. In fact, it is having the the absolute opposite affect that the demon-possessed intended. And that's because the demon-possessed never intended a target individual, an American citizen, to speak to it effectively, to speak to it persuasively with regard to having evidence, to speak to it and also be able to prove, in other words, with tangible evidence, with factual information and circumstances proving it. In other words, the entity that says something to me is directly challenged. This is also why the demon-possessed are lying on me, lying on my character, lying about who I am, necessarily behind my back, and my back in particular, okay? Because I will prosecute you right there on the sidewalk. The entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, they are necessarily cowards who lie behind my back. And they are cowards that also wear police uniforms and have a gun on their hip, or demon-possessed corrupt police departments that need to stalk me with a helicopter to make themselves feel superior, when I did not know that I was in some sort of competition with demons of the local police department. But this is the entity that's maintaining a Christmas light parade. Okay? This is an oxymoron. Okay, both because it is what is the form for criminal activity, and also because they're engaging in a light parade every single day. All they're doing is pacing around me. That's all they're doing. And so they engaged in that, including a massive amount of children, and they're driving up and down the streets. They're pacing up and down the streets. And thousands of them came together. And this is supposed to be a numbers game. I'm going to break down actually what is going on. These demons are aware of the fact that they've been exposed in the world, that people are aware of my evidence, that it's probative, that it's convincing, that it's compelling, that it's believable.
And this has never happened before. This is a satanic ritual, a massive one with regard to the entity gathering. Satan is playing a numbers game, and Satan has already lost. Satan is really under the impression that ongoing, repetitious, delusional, and ineffective witchcraft, such as having more of the demon-possessed, to engage in what is pacing all around me while they're all together harboring evil, wicked intentions and thoughts toward me, and that's supposed to affect. Does it make any of the evidence that you can look up right now on YouTube, does it make it disappear? I will wait, because I'm sure my YouTube channel is still on the internet, but I'm going to go ahead and wait and let everybody acknowledge those facts with regard to the ineffectual acts of what is thousands of demons gathering together, because nothing and no sex ritual amongst any demon-possessed and mentally ill collection of people is going to change that. They're going to prison, they're being deported, they're being ripped away from the children that they have sex with, that they include in violent sex acts, that they psychologically torture and violate and gang stalk other people with, that they terrorize other people with. Since you demonstrate to the federal government while you're monitoring my evidence, and while the world is watching you stalk me in planes and helicopters, and as a population, you are demonstrating yourselves that you're a threat to children. A federal court will not hesitate to snatch those children from you. They will not hesitate. You can mark my words. They will not hesitate. The entity, that threat that you are to minor children, as a gang stalker, by definition, the pattern of conduct is a threat to children. So the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're playing a numbers game, and it's failed witchcraft. And this is because the demon-possessed that do not know God, whom God is not hearing, whom God is going to enhance their judgment, is engaging in what is ongoing desperate acts. This is relevant to mental illness. This is criminal activity. So this is how the judge is looking at this. This is how the federal courts, this is how the federal government, this is how the necessity of martial law is established. The Christmas parade is another ongoing act of criminal conduct. Light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity. And the government is again, and this is the state, this is the municipality, this is the state of California, the people of the state of Ontario, the immigrants, the gang stalking parents that are going to be laughed at, talking about, please don't take my kids. They're literally going to be laughing at you. You're a maniacal psychopath. You're a violent sex offender. You're a co-conspirator. You're literally a serial killer, because the city of Ontario, I am not the first person that they have gang stalked. And you see the impunity with which they continue it and engage in more of it. Oh, threaten to kidnap me because I'm documenting you. You're going to prison. That's all I have to say. And I don't have to go back and forth with a feces consumer. You're going to federal prison. The entities engaging in this, and they're doing so based on what is already a lost cause. There is no amount of demons that can gather together that will ever overwhelm or cause any sort of overruling or rebuttal to the power of Christ Jesus. If you have damned yourself to death based on demonic spirits, you playing in death magic, that death magic is coming back for you and everyone connected to you. And no satanic ritual is changing that. It is only because you are mentally ill. It is only because Satan is still whispering in your ear and you are listening that you think otherwise. But that's not reality, and it doesn't change reality. And my YouTube channel is still on the internet. That is evidence. Still exists. It's not going anywhere. Neither am I. Neither are the federal repercussions for what you've already committed. The demon-possessed that are stalking under a fake sun can't connect reality versus the illusions. The entities engaged in this conduct, and I want to be clear, the entities still engaged in criminal summoning. They're engaged in the massive sex offense with impossible light activity. They're engaging in that and cloaking it under the guise of a Christmas parade. These demons are psychopaths, bat poo, that's the wrong animal, bat poo, crazy, going around stalking with light, pacing like psychopaths, back and forth and back and forth, doing so on a motorcycle, doing so in municipality vehicles, doing so in Christmas decorated they're pacing. Do not let them try to deceive you and make mental illness look like something festive. It's the same mental illness. And their mental illness is increasingly, it is becoming more aggressively obvious. And that's because the entity's been playing in witchcraft. The entity's been engaged in what is ongoing, unapologetic, unrepentant behavior. And the witchcraft that they play in is attacking them. It's not touching me. It's attacking them, their mind, their household, their well-being, their health. This is just the truth. I'm just letting you know about the spiritual truth regarding what the demon-possessed, what the wicked have brought upon themselves and their households. They brought it on themselves. And the Christmas parade is that. They literally, in a desperate act, have tons of people that came together. This is hundreds and hundreds of people that came together with their demon-possessed children. Because the younger the demon, the purer the spirit. No, not in my book. They're young demons. This is what the entity doesn't understand. When the Lord God says that is it, that's literally it. And this is why you should not be engaged in this in the first place, because when he says don't touch and do no harm, that means do not touch and do no harm. And after you have touched and you have done tremendous harm, you continuously do that and you think that you're returning something back to, you don't have any authority, and you don't have any authority at all. None. The judgment has already been rendered. You are in the physical with regard to tangible evidence, demonstrating to the world, demonstrating as a government, demonstrating as a civilian population, the threat that you are to national security, the threat that you are to the American people, the threat that you are to the public, while you're engaging in what everyone knows is criminal activity. They had the Christmas parade under the fake moon, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the fake moon is over me. I'm taking pictures of it while they're maintaining the Christmas parade. These are the demon-possessed that are trying to cloak mental illness as some festive occasion. And they're all worshiping me. They're all hostile toward me. They are all demons, and they're all engaging in this. And this is a desperate attempt, a desperate and feckless attempt at what can never happen. You can never overrule. You can never counter-argue with what is judgment that the Lord God has already made.
Yeah.
Ever. And by the way, in federal court, after a judge has made a ruling, you're also not going to sit there after that ruling has been made and commence some sort of argument with that judge. That's not how that works in real life either. This is what the demon-possessed are doing with regard to their ongoing delusional witchcraft practices, molesting me with impossible light. This is witchcraft. This is failed witchcraft, and it's relevant to what their behavior is manifesting: severe mental illness, behavioral health concerns that are a threat to the public. Tangible evidence to have you diagnosed and have you put away, where they keep people like you in soft walls, the padded rooms, soft padded walls where you cannot harm yourself and other people, in padded rooms. Okay, and I'm not exaggerating. That's how demented the entity is. This was a massive event so that they could comfortably engage in what is pacing, because it looks like they're focused on, this is what the demon-possessed want to do. They want to, in a comfortable manner. Comfort is defined as what is cloaking it as some other something, anything other than what it is. Pacing, light activity, all of them are stalking. They're all in a relevant position to me. The OVITT Family Community Library closed the library early today because they wanted to make sure that I was outside, as opposed to staying on the inside of the library until 6 p.m. because they wanted to make sure that I was outside of the library so that they can pace around me. It has absolutely zero effect. And the demon-possessed are delusional. They have a hard time. I'm watching the rapid breakdown of the minds of those that prayed for mental illness to Satan. They prayed to demons for that. And it's happening to them while you're laughing at them on the internet, while you're looking at how foolish, when you're breaking down and you understand what they're doing now, you can see them and there's no more illusions. You're laughing at them. And this is the mental illness that they prayed to Satan for someone else to experience. And justice is that's your mental illness. That's your package from hell. You and your children. You and your children's children. Because you cursed them, and it's staying with you. It belongs to you, and you never had authority in the first place. And this is why you should not be playing and trifling in other people's lives. And they're having a hard time accepting that. This was a ritual tonight, and the ritual that was practiced by a whole government, the City of Ontario, the mayor, the various companies that got together, the entity, the community and the schools and all those that pitched in to engage in what is pacing around Erica Lorraine Spencer. And you know that this is the truth. They keep a fake sun over me on one street, wherever I'm at on that one street.
all day long. The entire city got together, and they want to feel comfortable so that it appears as one thing on the surface. They feel comfortable pacing. All they were doing was pacing around. Psychopathic behavior, desperation, severe mental illness. Severe. All they're doing is pacing, and there is no amount of pacing that's going to save you from your expiration date. This is the reality, but the reality, understand, they live amongst illusions, and they cast illusions for other people, where these demons that have called themselves elite and all-powerful and almighty, and one little old person, little 5'5", 125-pound me, in Christ Jesus, by the way, because it's not me, but I come in a small little package. You can underestimate me all you want. I don't care what you think. You eat feces. I do not care. I know who I am, and I know you don't. You're not even honest with what you are. You eat feces and tell yourself that it's a T-bone steak. I could not care less. I know what the reality is. And the entity has because this is their demon possession, which is, again, their mental illness. Their mental illness precludes the ability to look at reality and accept it for what it is. Okay? And this is because an entity has been drunk with power that they've been abusing. And those days are over. They're over. They are actually over. So the entity and God together, and this is what they've engaged in. And they're doing so with regard to what you need to know. This is, again, more material for laughter, okay? Because I don't know who said that this is the cool kids club, but it's not. If you were actually cool, then you don't need to sit. Who worship? I would never spend my time worshiping some other person and then telling myself I'm cool because I worship some other person, because that's what you're doing when you're stalking someone. You are making them your everything. That is idolatry. That is absurdly ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And they get together. These are demons. This is Satan that whispers in their ear, and they tell themselves, we as the spiritually retarded are the elite. We as the feces consumers, with utensils, real stainless steel utensils and silk napkins that we stole from other people, are the sophisticated upper class elite. While we steal, kill, rape, and harm women and children, and live lives contrary to who we actually are. This is what the demon possessed do. This is why they have a whole event calling it one thing, and they really are engaging in an event so that they can comfortably pace back and forth in the same exact engineered light. In the same exact engineered light. It was a monitoring event sponsored by Paul Leon. Okay, and the people of the state, serial killers that are domestic terrorists, homegrown terrorists, and many of them are under the age of majority. That's what you need to be aware of. All right? That's what is so pathetic. The entities engaging in this while they are all monitoring me and wanted me to be outside after 4 p.m. And guess what? I don't care. That's the punchline. I don't care. I don't care. I told you years ago you're going to prison, and guess where you're going? Guess what's going to be your fate tomorrow, December 7th? You're going to federal prison. You're going to federal prison. It's not changing on the 7th. It ain't changing on the 8th. You're going to federal prison. Many of you are going to mental asylums. Many of you are getting kicked out of the United States of America. You're getting kicked out. You ain't never coming back. And I said it like that on purpose for emphasis. You are never returning to this country. And you're going to be treated like the Neanderthals that you've shown yourself to be to the world, while you lied, all of you, a whole government system serving to lie on one person. It is not elite. It is pathetic. It is not elite. It is perverted to worship that person's genitalia. And then you pace all around them, stalking them, because now you're scared about the consequences that you've reaped by targeting the wrong person. That person's not a demon like you. That person will not succumb to those demonic curses and that spell work like you. That person is not like you. We are not the same. You have no authority. In fact, anything that you say spiritually ricochets, if you will. It spiritually ricochets, and you shall be subject to reaping what you have sown. Because the Lord God listened to every syllable. He heard every wicked thought. He knows about every evil, demented intention. He knows about all of it, and he pays back in full. For the wages of sin is death, and the wicked cannot afford that bill. They can't afford it. They can't even cope with the reality of what's going to happen in a courtroom. And what do they do in response? Well, the mentally ill engage in what you know is stalking with impossible light. Doing things like harassment on video in helicopters and in airplanes. To inflict more harm because they cannot cope with what is that which they brought upon themselves. And it's also evident that you're mentally ill because that's criminal activity that has been documented and to be played back before people in positions to do something about it, like in a federal tribunal. And that's just sitting on the record. It's just sitting on the record. Evidence that is just ready. This is the entity that's engaging in that. This is what the so-called Christmas parade has been. Weirdo stalkers sitting in dark parking lots because I could not care less, so I walked to the neighborhood market where they were stalking. By stalking, I mean the demon-possessed are lying in wait. If they're inside of a restaurant eating with their family, they get up really quick because somebody is crossing path, and they are doing that as a population. Step by step, turn by turn, every street by street, wherever I go. Because they're not actually consumed with eating their food. They're in position for wherever I go. They're surrounding. So they are maintaining crossing and path conduct. They're maintaining light activity. They're stalking. And they all got together in order to do this comfortably, surrounding what that demonic and mentally ill and criminal conduct as under the guise of a Christmas light parade or a light show. You've seen this already with the Route 66 show that occurred under the fake sun with the same corrupt agencies that are severely mentally ill, and that I went to the extent necessarily so to thoroughly embarrass by showing you what they present and showing you what they're actually doing. And yes, it's funny on the one hand, and it's exceedingly disturbing on the other to be studied. Having effectively carved out, like I said, a whole area unto itself regarding mental illness. That needs to be recognized because it is a threat to the public. It seeks to present itself amongst a collection of people. It is relevant to what is their spiritual condition, demon possession, which directly affects and impacts their behavior. Those of all ages and races, those coming from all socioeconomic brackets. It is not limited to that whatsoever. And it's exceedingly disturbing, especially while the P.O.C. is showing that no American citizen is imagining this. And so the unprecedented threat is that the entity actually spends money and time on nothing other than criminal conduct of targeting one person. And that is exactly what this is about. I walked outside and you see the fake sun. They're maintaining the Christmas parade under the fake sun. They're targeting one person together under the guise of, oh, today it is the light parade, the Christmas light parade. It's the P.O.C. And it is absolutely pathetic. I wish I was married and my husband was stalking another woman and expected me to participate in that. Well, that would never happen in the first place because I would have sniffed out that mental illness. I would have sniffed that demon out at the outset. There wouldn't have been date number 2. So this is the entity that's engaging in that. It is nothing other than the pattern of conduct. Nothing. And they're engaging in that while they are sharing in what is sexual violence together, sharing in mentally depraved conduct out of desperation that is not changing the circumstances that they have brought on, that they summoned it on themselves. That is severe mental illness when you cannot bring yourself to the reality of what it is. That's what it is. And it's not going to change. And I don't care. I don't care. The demons want me to care. I don't care. I'm prosecuting you. There's a difference. I do not care. I am prosecuting you. As I have been. You are just now, you're very much delayed in your realization about what's happening to you and about what's been happening to you while you thought you were doing something to me. No, I was taking notes about everything that you were committing regarding charges, regarding a future sentence in prison. This has been the reality. This was always going to be the ending. You are the last to know, because you are the one whose fate and whose detriment has always been at stake. It was never mine. But you were supposed to think that. This is by design. These are the demon-possessed that set people up, okay? That call themselves ruling other people's lives, and it's happening to them. It has happened to them. It's already happened. It's already over. And they are literally playing a numbers game. You can gather hundreds and thousands and millions of people. You can gather hands across the country, which this is exactly what is happening. Demons are watching across the globe, especially my evidence. Guess what? It's not a matter of how many subscribers I have, Satan. Do you think subscribers? Do you think that some sort of ill wishes are going to stop what is judgment from Christ Jesus? And that's why you're subject to what you're subject to now, because you're going to be put in your place. This is not about subscribers. This is not about clout. This is not about getting acknowledgement. This is not about some vote. I don't care about what people think about facts and laws and logical and legal reasoning. This isn't up for a vote. They don't even know what I'm talking about. They're watching a prosecution. They're not engaged in executing that prosecution. I don't intend for you to participate in it. It's for you to witness it. This is not some sort of seeking out some sort of acceptance. Oh, do you like this? Do you accept this? Should I continue this? What are you talking about? People are out here dying. They're gang stalking people, and I'm exposing it. This isn't for you to like or not like. And the only ones that are doing that are the demons. That's it. In which case, I still do not care. This is the entity that's entirely pathetic, okay? And it was never cool to be a gang stalker, and it is never okay to engage in this conduct because you feel pressure or you feel threatened, because there is no man under heaven that you should be fearing except for the Lord God, who has the power to not only kill you, but to put your soul in the pit of hell. Paraphrasing. He's the one that has the power to do that. So I do have a certain level of disgust with anyone that would say, well, I was only gang stalking because of this, and I gang stalked because of that, and I gang stalked and I didn't expose anything because of this. And there is no excuse, because you're talking about people's lives, human beings. And I am personally disgusted with what it is that I've witnessed while prosecuting, and the entities engage in this, and not one person, not one exception, no one. And this is why an American citizen is subject to this sort of finality. They don't make it. They're not designed to. When the government is targeting you, the government is going to kill you. Which is also why it is a prosecution for domestic terrorism. And it is also why terrorism is prosecuted and dealt with in the manner in the United States that Mike Lorenz and others are going to experience. It's terrorism. It's un-American. You're an enemy of this country. So while the entity has engaged in this, I am speaking under circumstances where the average American citizen is not able to speak. No one knows, and no one is helping them. No one reports it. No one stops anything. And what are you going to do? The only person that would die on behalf of another is Christ Jesus himself. That's what he did, having committed no sin. He's the only one that stepped in to lend me a helping hand and tell me what's going on. He saved my life. While everyone around me, everyone that I can physically see has been engaged in this, targeting everyone that I ever met. So it is absolutely miraculous, and why would anyone else be even relevant with regard to what is necessarily posted on social media? If there was a website, or if there was some sort of platform whereby you report being targeted by the government, And outside of seeking to accumulate likes, it's irrelevant. That's not what it's for. But the internet is useful insofar as bringing publicity, bringing attention. But do not be confused with why it's on the internet. I could not care less about your opinion about American citizens being subject to terrorism, especially when you are the problem. You are the demon-possessed gang stalker. I don't care about your opinion. You're the problem. Okay, the entities is engaged in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while they are delusional about what is their fate. And those that are not delusional, they continuously engage in violence, and that's also why it is justice what is happening to them under both circumstances, because that's all the demon-possessed are doing. And their mindset is that, well, I'm going to prison, so I'm going to continue targeting you until that day. And I want to make sure that that is known by the federal courts. And I want to make sure that that is known because this is brought on by the corrupt government, those like of the federal government, the military. All right, the federal government. I documented the FBI gang stalking. I've documented federal plates. Okay, the state that is engaged in targeting me, and this is their fault. And those are terrorists who are subject to prison because I am still suffering damages, and my life remains under threat. While I remain subject to criminal conduct that the military, that the FBI, that the feds should have never been a part of. And that other American citizens have died from. I'm not getting less justice because I lived and I proved what the federal government has subjected me to. To the contrary, you're going to prison because I'm here to speak truth to power. Okay? And I spoke that hesitantly because I actually don't acknowledge it as, I don't acknowledge you as power. I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't acknowledge you as powerful. I acknowledge you as you're corrupt. And the entity is still to this end. This is what I want to make sure that the world is aware of. And when I get justice, the government is still hell-bent on trying to control to the very end. That you don't control, this is what I cannot stress enough, you do not control anything. And you're not going to understand that until you witness it. There will be no negotiation. There will be no check written. There will be no conversation. We're not going to have tea and crumpets. I will not be sitting down and breaking bread with anyone that had anything to do with anyone that could sit up and describe my vagina. You are an enemy, and we will not be breaking bread together. We will not be working together. This is not an application for some position with your corrupt organization, especially while you sat back and was hoping that the witchcraft would kick in. And it doesn't, and so now we're going to negotiate. No, you're delusional, Satan. It will not be happening. You gang stalk me as a corrupt official, you're going to prison. I cannot be bought. I will not be bought. And you will not insult me with money while you've been gang stalking me in furtherance of my murder. You are a fool thinking that that is going to happen. You're going to prison, as hard as that is to believe. Justice requires it, and I've already done the work. And I've already provided what is the law that under which I am entitled to it. In fact, I had to establish policy that is constitutionally sound, by the way. Speaking to what justice requires when people in your position commit these sort of offenses that people are supposed to die from and not survive. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison like any other terrorist would. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:11 p.m. and the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department are a bunch of gang stalking and failed witches and warlocks who are engaged in still stalking to the last minute. And for that, federal officials are also going to federal prison. Because I want to be clear, this is one entity. And if the entity would have decided to stop targeting me, the Ontario Police would have backed off. And they haven't. Jason Fields is going to prison. He's not the only one. They're going to prison. They failed at sacrificing me because the Lord Jesus did not permit it. And that's because Jason Fields and others are going to federal prison. Every threat that's been uttered, you're going to prison for it. Every kidnapping that's occurred, you're going to federal prison for it. Every criminally defamatory epithet, every item that has been stolen from me, which is everything, you're going to prison. It's not just mere theft. It's terrorism and furtherance of murder
with regard to ongoing exacerbating circumstances such as theft of everything that I own, on top of psychological torture and sexual violence that has never before been contemplated under federal law, you're going to federal prison. You're going to federal prison. You are going to federal prison. The Ontario Police is securing that for themselves and for you. It is currently 9:12 p.m. It is December 6, 2025.
This is assault, sexual assault and battery. That's impossible light activity because headlights. This is far on the opposite side. This is 602A North Euclid Avenue, where the African-American female, the people of the state, engaged in assault with a deadly weapon after her license plate was captured. And the Ontario International Airport, gang stalking behind the Bethel Church, flying over the entity engaging in what is assault and battery behind this church as well at the Ontario Veterinary Hospital. This is where the Ontario Police are gang stalking for over an hour by helicopter. This is where the people of the state are sharing in that sex offense. You're looking at more than one shadow. That's not caused by headlights either. Neither are headlights reaching that manner. This is one vehicle after another crossing paths with my person. And what is this engineer light? You see the shadow of their vehicles. This is demonic activity. And they each represent a co-conspirator of murder, including the city of Ontario, including those under the age of majority. They're walking all in engineer light. This is gang stalking and furtherance of murder with the government, the entity that's doing so under the fake moon. This is a satanic ritual, and this is what they did, calling it nothing other than a Christmas light parade, where they were doing the exact same thing in the exact same impossible light activity. This is P.O.C. Crossing path, crossing path, crossing path, crossing path, crossing path, crossing path, all in impossible light. It's demonic, and those are demons. Okay, and those are demons, and they're targeting together. All of them are targeting together, and it's mental illness that is shared by a population that give birth to demon-possessed children, engaging criminal activity with demon-possessed children, and engaging it with that impunity. That impunity is relevant to what is the necessity of martial law. This is the attitude that they'll maintain in federal court as well while they're being prosecuted, waving high and smiling as though there are no consequences. This is the entity that is monitoring the evidence, knows very well, communicates a threat to engage in what is kidnapping upon violating no law, engages in what it's, those are the same demons that call the Ontario Police, criminal summoning while they're gang stalking me together, making up information about why the entity needs to conduct a kidnapping, needs to harass and threaten me in my face. This is the entity that's doing that in that environment. This is the entity that is going to be losing custody of their minor children, that is going to be deported out of this country. This is a threat to American citizens who are suffering in silence. They don't have anybody to report it to. And but for the evidence that I have a body of it, a repository of it, you would never even understand what it is that I'm describing. That serves the purposes of psychopaths who are white women, Asian women, Latino women, old and young women, engaging in what is gang stalking while they are exhibiting that bloodthirsty, cold-blooded, maniacal, psychopathic disorder. Because that's what's behind smiling and giggling and waving high while you're gang stalking, because that's what they're doing, and they're intentionally doing it in this environment with the population sharing in it. Under the fake moon, this is where the fake sun rises. This is why Mike LORENZ is going to prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, by the way, sorry, I'm trying to bone my gloves on. That is it. Let me show you this engineer light on the floor again. They're all waving high, they're monitoring. It's not caused by normal light, okay? Each light bulb doesn't create a multiple shadow. It's 10:57 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, sexual assault and battery by a sex offender on behalf of the Ontario Police. As I document video, another sex offender follows. This is the perpetual sex offender in furtherance of murder. This is license plate 8RNE995. Engaging in that on behalf of the Ontario Police in furtherance of murder, okay? That's P.O.C. They commit that sexual violence after you document them, and they do that by the thousands. That's a population of sex offenders, of predators, of co-conspirators of murder. This is the same place where the entity is stalking by helicopter. That's the agency that has no intentions of remaining as a police department. Jay Sandoval is begging for federal prison. And guess what? That's where she's going. Badge number 19995. Excuse me, 19955. She's going to prison while that demon is engaging in what is amplifying helicopter activity. That's a demon-possessed person. That's psychopath. That's flying in a circle, while a sex offender that's demon-possessed is molesting with impossible light. One demon after another, while they are all bullying one person, with the demon possession, the demonic environment, which is psychologically harmful. Ontario police is being disbanded. Not one of them are remaining in law enforcement in any manner, and they're out of a job. And if I documented you like Jay Sandoval, you're going to prison. These are cowards, vagina monitors, feces consumers who are engaging in criminal conduct on camera, and they also engage in more of it as they're documented like psychopaths. They are rapists, they're pedophiles, they're murderers, and they're thieves. And they go by the name of Ontario Police and the people of the state, co-conspirators of murder in California, and this is the prosecution of the state of California. The demon-possessed are a threat to national security, and that is not an exaggeration. They will be deported, they will be removed from minor children. That's what's happening, and they've exhibited that that's exactly what needs to happen. As surely as they are out at night, during the day and at night, they're stalking. This isn't even traffic. They're out here stalking with the Ontario Police. No, they're not keeping their kids. They're terrorists. Walking around in engineer light. Walking in the light. P.O.C. It is currently again to 11 o'clock at night. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct with impunity. P.O.C. Alrighty. This is the entity that is remaining. I just captured video. The entity has not gone anywhere by helicopter because they are stalking and engaging in surveillance by helicopter. These are the demons, I want to be clear, whose delusional and ongoing failed witchcraft has resulted in what's going to be death magic that's going to execute itself against the demons, the witches of the Ontario Police Department. They've engaged in what is years of targeting American citizens. The use of witchcraft is relevant under the law with regard to malice. Murdering someone and then doing it with no hands and claiming that that person killed themselves, claiming that that person was crazy, that they disappeared, claiming that that person mysteriously suffered some unknown demise, when demons like the Ontario Police Department, who utilize witchcraft by stalking you in helicopters, doing so under things like a fake sun and a fake moon, doing so amongst things like impossible light activity in an abnormal and unscientifically impossible environment. This is all witchcraft. Their witchcraft has failed, and they've been engaging in what is years of using what is witchcraft against somebody that the Lord God has said, do not touch and do no harm. Do you know what that means? That means not only am I going to prosecute them with the body of evidence of them stalking me, just like this video is, on an ongoing basis, that is judgment on earth. They are subject to what is spiritual judgment before the Lord God himself. And that is going to include that the return of all of that death magic. I'm not losing my life. I shall live. It's not going to touch me. It's touching them. You're already witnessing it. They've cursed their children. They've cursed their spouses, their households. They've cursed everything concerning their lives. And the demons are so triggered regarding me exposing the fact that they're still engaging in what is delusional and failed witchcraft, which is a federal case regarding terrorism, that they engage in more criminal activity. That's how mentally ill they are. That's why the Ontario police are stalking. I captured that video moments ago. When you're in a helicopter and you're going about your business, you're gone. Why am I capturing another video of them here flying in this direction? Because they're stalking again. They're engaging in what is another episode of stalking, rather. They didn't go anywhere. They're still stalking. They're engaged in psychopathic pacing, which is all that Christmas light show parade was. They all parked all around, engaged in what is pacing all around me, and it's failed witchcraft. These people have committed what is mass spiritual suicide. That's literally what they've engaged in. And this is what is, again, failed witchcraft that does not work against a child of God. They're engaging in what is sexual violence while they're practicing failed witchcraft. They're engaged in domestic terrorism while they're practicing failed witchcraft. They're engaged in what is making threats to commit kidnapping while you're engaged in criminal surveillance while they're practicing failed witchcraft. They're going to federal prison. They're being deported. They're being removed from minor children. They are going to be the basis whereby you are establishing new laws concerning mental illness, actual mental illness by such terrorists, corrupt entities, and also federal law to prosecute domestic terrorism, which is no conspiracy theory. The reason why a lot of this has been remaining as a conspiracy theory, number one, is because it's the government system, and number two, because it is relevant to what is demon possession, which is an invisible spirit, the practice of witchcraft. This is P.O.C. It is currently, and this entity's failed witchcraft is the public humiliation of the mentally ill. The only type that are engaging in stalking in manners that are unheard of, which has to be proven in tangible evidence so that no other American citizen will ever be falsely depicted as mentally ill when it is in fact the demons who are vagina monitors, who are a threat to minor children, who are in fact mentally ill, psychopathic, obsessed with my vagina, and I don't have to know their name to know that. That's a psychopath, and that's a co-conspirator of murder. That's P.O.C. It is currently 11:16 p.m. By pure numerosity, Mike Lorenz is going to prison. Pure numerosity of co-conspirators, of stalkers, and that agency's ongoing pattern of conduct of stalking me along with them, facilitating their criminal stalking conduct and their mental illness proven through stalking in manners that are supernatural, impossible to naturally occur. Doing so as a gang, that's terrorism. They're all psychopaths under the fake moon. And nobody's imagining this. The entity that's engaged in criminal defamation is the entity that is mentally ill. This is P.O.C.